Hi boys and girls, this is our day 3 science video. So third day of school, this is our science time. I have my Science About Me page ready to go. If you need to get yours, pause this video now and go grab your supplies. Okay, if you have your stuff, we're all ready to go. We have been talking this week about some science questions, some science type questions, and you are drawing some stuff in the boxes to tell a little bit about you. So day 1, we drew what was our favorite weather. So we talked a little bit about different types of weather. We drew which one was our favorite. Mine is snowy. I love the winter. Yesterday in box 2, we wrote I like, and then we drew our favorite animal. So I told you to pick an animal that you like and go ahead and draw it. And I drew a giraffe because I told you that giraffes are my favorite. So I went ahead and I finished coloring my giraffe up to show you how nice it looks when it's done. So I hope that you spent some time coloring your animal as well. And remember, we just try our very best to draw, right? It doesn't matter if it's perfect. It's okay. So we're going to move on to box 3 now because this is our third day working on this. In box 3, we are going to talk a little bit about the sun. Now the sun, we see the sun in the sky, right? And when it shines really bright, sometimes it gets really hot. Sometimes the weather is cooler, so the sun isn't shining as bright. But the sun is millions and millions of miles away. It is so far away that there is no possible way for anyone to reach the sun. And the sun is so hot that you could not even live on the sun. So it's a good thing that we're really far away from the sun. Earth, the planet that we live on, is a planet that circles the sun. The way that Earth circles the sun is called an orbit. So if the sun is the middle of our solar system, and then all the other planets circle around the sun, and the sun stays in the middle. So Earth makes a trip around the sun. That's what it's called, a trip around the sun. And I want you to think for a minute, how long do you think it would take Earth to make one circle, one orbit, one trip around the sun? I don't know if you know that. That's a tricky one. I'm going to tell you. It actually takes Earth one whole year, 365 days, to make one orbit around the sun. So just one trip around the sun is 1 year long. So in this box, I just taught you something, right? One trip around the sun is 1 year. I want you to think, how many trips around the sun have you made? Think about that. If one trip is 1 year, that would mean that if you are 1 year old, that means you've made one trip around the sun. If you're 2 years old, you have made 2 trips around the sun. Because one trip around the sun is 1 year. So think about how old you are. Are you 4? Are you 5? Are you 6? How many trips around the sun have you made? I'm going to give you a hint. The number is going to be the same number that tells how old you are. So if you are 4 years old, you have made 4 trips around the sun on planet Earth. And Earth is moving, but guess what? We don't even feel Earth moving. Earth is always moving and always moving around the sun, and it's rotating, it's spinning. But we don't even feel it because of gravity pulling us down and keeping us on Earth. If we didn't have gravity, oh my goodness, it would be a mess. Everybody would be floating everywhere like they do in space. So one trip around the sun is 1 year. So if you're 4 years old, then you have made 4 trips around the sun. If you are 5 years old, you have made 5 trips around the sun. If you are 6 years old, you have made 6 trips around the sun. If you're 10 years old, you've made 10, you're right, 10 trips around the sun. What if you are 50 years old? How many trips around the sun have you made if you're 50? You've made 50 trips around the sun. You got it. Now, Miss P is 27. So how many trips around the sun have I made? Did you say 27? You're right. So in this box, in box 3, what I want you to do is I want you to draw a sun. Okay? So I'm going to go in with my yellow. You can use a pencil to start or your crayons, whatever you want. And I want you to draw a sun. So a circle, and I'm going to color it in yellow. And I almost have it done. There you go. So there's my yellow circle, and then I'm going to draw some lines coming out of my sun. There is my sun. I think I'm going to add some more lines just to make it a little extra fancy, because why not, right? So I'm going to add some orange lines coming out too. Here's my fancy, fancy sun. And then what I'm going to do, because looking at this, I just see the sun, right? But we're talking about trips around the sun. So what I want you to do, and go ahead and try this. I'm going to make an arrow. And I'm going to make a line all the way around the sun, because we're talking about going around the sun. And I'm going to put an arrow at the end of my line, because that shows all the way around. So to make that arrow, I started my line here. I went all the way around the sun, and then I made one line coming off the end and another line coming off the end to make an arrow. And that shows that it's kind of going around and around that sun for my trips around the sun. Now I'm running out of room to write my number, so guess where I'm going to write it? I'm going to write it right in the middle of my sun. And I have made, I told you, you helped me figure this out. I have made 27 trips around the sun because I am 27 years old. I want you to write your number inside of your sun. So if you're 4 years old, that means that you have made 4 trips around the sun. If you're 5 years old, that should be a 5 inside of your sun. And if you're 6 years old, then you're going to write a 6 inside of your sun. Okay? So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit to show you this a little bit closer, because I know that it's a little bit far away. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you. There we go. Do you see how I made that arrow? I started at the top. I'm going to show you. I'm going to use my finger to point to it again. I started here at the top, and I made a line all the way around, and then one line and 2 lines coming off of my first line. So there's my arrow for 27 trips around the sun, because I'm 27 years old. Your number will be different though. Right, friend? Okay, so that is our day 3 science. So I cannot wait to see what your Science About Me boxes look like. They're going to look awesome. I hope you had fun with this, friends. I will see you later, okay?